of this club, DTM, since 2014. Some of you who are in District 47 may recognize me. I'm a transplant. I used to live in South Florida for many years and now live in Chicago. Again, welcome everyone. This meeting of online presenters has now begun. For those guests interested in attending our club on a lot more and perhaps even joining, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 speeches from either the traditional or pathways programs, or you must have substantive relevant presentation experience that you demonstrate in a 3 to 5 minute speech that you present to our club. All requests for membership are subject to board approval. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and your role if you have one. Right-click on the little panel and select Rename. We do have members, and I'm sure tonight, guests from many different countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording the meeting. Your video and audio contributions may be used for our club marketing purposes. Also, please remember to mute your microphone when you are not speaking. Today's theme will be told to us shortly by our Toastmaster. Please welcome back for a couple of quick words, our club president, distinguished Toastmaster, Lois Margolin.
Thank you, sir. I am honored to be the president of this club. I am a charter member. I am also the technical coordinator with David Carr for District 47 and a co-chair for the online speech contest for District 47. So I have been incredibly busy. I get where you are all coming from. Just wanted to give a big shout out to my incredible executive board, my Vice President of Education, John Quick. I don't believe he's on the line. Vice President of Membership, Elaine Niebuhr, Secretary Monica Tucker, Treasurer David Carr, Vice President of Public Relations Jacinta, and our Sergeant at Arms Lou Brown. We are happy to have you here tonight, and it is time to get this started because we have an amazing Toastmaster of the day. And just a reminder, Diane, the odd counter will be Jim Gould, and the evaluator for Carol will be Tiger. Please welcome our Toastmaster of the day, Diane Rubino.
Hi, everybody. I'm Diane Rubino. I've been a member of Toastmasters for many, many years. If you're new to Toastmasters, I can't possibly recommend it highly enough. It has been absolutely a game changer for me personally and professionally. I'm a huge cheerleader, and after many years, I'm always looking for new opportunities to get better because there's no such thing as too good in Toastmasters. I found myself here at this club for about a year, and I wanted to open up the meeting because we have many fabulous things. I just want to tell you what's going to happen today. For the first portion of the meeting, we're going to be going through prepared speeches, scripted speeches. We have 3 of them. After that, we will be going through table topics. And the third segment is the evaluation. So with that, it's not just me, it's a team of people helping. And I just want to tell you who's going to be helping you and give you their name, and they can just come in and tell you a little bit about themselves. One thing that I wanted to say, one thing that was important to me at this particular juncture is I want to have a theme, and it's called Here and Now. And based on this quote that I had just read recently, one day at a time reminds me that in spite of my fears, I don't know what tomorrow will bring. Worrying will not protect me from the future. It will just keep me from living here and now. So I asked some folks to please let us know what they're doing to stay present in the moment rather than worrying about the future. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to our grammarian, Graham Carnes, and he's going to tell you a little bit about how he's going to help you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, very welcome guests. My job as grammarian is to watch the use of grammar, of language, of construction during the meeting. I'll be looking for those highlights as the spirits soar, their dance unrehearsed, but I'll also be looking for those moments when things don't go quite according to plan, at least as far as language is concerned. If you make egregious errors, I will probably draw your attention to them a little later, but if you do something phantasmagorical, I will also celebrate that with everyone here today. That's my role, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. I hope I do something phantasmagorical and that I've pronounced that correctly. Our watcher for this evening is David Carr, and he's going to come on and tell you a little bit about what he's up to during this meeting. David?
Well, the grammarian is listening to your language, and the eye counter is scoring you on your verbal foot faults. I will be doing something similar for visual presentation. So in an online meeting, that means body language, whatever you can fit in this box, but also your use of visuals, whether you have a distracting background or an attractive background, regardless of whether you're doing the fancy virtual background stuff, whether you've managed to find a way to present yourself well on screen. I'll give a report at the end.
Okay, super. Thank you very much. We also have a chat monitor, and her name is Asel Honava, and I would like to welcome her and to tell you about her role. Asel?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As a chat monitor, I'll facilitate the back-channel communication through the chat function of the online meeting platform. I'll keep track of the helpful, encouraging, and humorous posts throughout the meeting, and I'll give a 1-minute report at the end of the meeting. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Asel. The vote counter is a role where we vote on the best speech and the best something else that I forget. But fortunately, I have a very experienced vote counter, Elaine, and she's going to tell you all about what she's going to be doing tonight for you.
Good evening, everyone. As you can see from my fancy schmancy background, I am the vote counter. The way our members only will vote tonight is via the private chat. Normally, when we don't have an overflow crowd, we have everybody voting. But for the vote counter to keep her sanity and monitor the chat and count the votes, we're just asking for votes via the private chat to me for best speaker, best table topics, respondent, and best evaluator. Thank you.
Thank you. And our timer is Brian Campbell, and he actually responded to my question about what's helped keeping you sane. Very interesting. He says, to stay present in my life, I am currently building a desk, focusing on something that I can control the outcome of helps me ignore the things I cannot control. Thank you for that wise words. Brian, please introduce yourselves and tell us about your role.
Thank you very much, Diane. My name is Brian David Crawford. I'll be the timer. For those who aren't familiar with the role, my job is to keep us on track so that we can get out of here at a reasonable hour tonight. When speakers reach the minimum time, I'll be showing them Kelly Green background. When they're about halfway between the minimum and their maximum time, I'll be showing them California Gold background. And when they need to start thinking about stopping to talk, I'll be showing them an International Orange background. Back to our Toastmaster of the day, Diane.
Thank you so much. And our counter, Christian, is here. So please help me welcome Christian, and he's going to explain to you what he's going to be helping you with tonight.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. So as our counter, I've got a simple role: to note and keep track of the use of words and sounds that our speakers are or may use as crutches or filler words. For example, some of the words I'm going to look out for are and, well, and so, but. And I'm going to provide a report on what I've observed and counted at the end of the session. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. So as you can tell, you have a lot of support and care here in the online Toastmasters meeting. So and please know that if anyone gets corrected or someone tells them they're overtime, it's done with love and to help you. But the first part of our meeting tonight is going to be the prepared speeches. And for that, our very first speaker is going to be Christopher Holz. And Christopher tells me about staying in the moment. Honestly, just living one day at a time. When people, especially now, try to make a statement about where we will be in 1 week, 1 month, 6 months, it's usually negative. Tonight, Christopher is going to be giving us the speech by management. It's number 5, Delivering Bad News. And the title of it is When It Rains, It Pours. Time reserved for this speech is 5 to 7 minutes. Again, Christopher Holz, When It Rains, It Pours. Thank you very much, Christopher. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. There's a quote that I often say to other people that I think will be applicable in 2020. It goes, when it rains, it pours. Now, I want to start out this speech by saying I don't expect anybody to have a pity party for me and the things I'm about to mention. But in deciding how I wanted to craft this particular speech project, it seems like most people choose to deliver a piece of bad news to a group. I too chose a group to give this speech to, which I'll talk about in a moment. But in the end, I wanted to use this speech to process some things going on in my life currently, and at the same time, learn how to deliver bad news. So imagine for a moment, it is January 1st, 2020. The particular audience I am focusing my attention on tonight is me, myself, and I. Here we go. You have lived a pretty good life. You've seen a lot in your 45 years here on the planet. You've loved and been loved. You've been more of a success than you've been a failure. Sure, not everything has gone the way you wanted it to, but you've also learned that that's pretty normal. One of your favorite lines in one of your favorite songs is said best by the Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. Well, I'm here to tell you this year, 2020, it sounds like a year that has a nice ring to it, but unfortunately, that misnomer may be painstakingly deceiving. I'm going to tell you that this year is going to test your strength. And not just the strength you can conjure up here and there when you may need it for a moment or two. I'm talking about the strength you've built up from a lifetime of experiences. This year is going to be a hard one, but I know, me, myself, and I, you are pretty resilient. And I know you'll be able to get through what may be the toughest 12 months of your life so far. I'll break down why and how and about what. First of all, you'll be going through a divorce. I know you'll be embarrassed that this second marriage you've been through didn't work out. You think your family might consider you the black sheep because not only has no one in your family ever gotten divorced, and you got divorced once before, you've now done it twice. But please don't think about it that way. All these other people are not living your life. And what they don't understand is that you needed to do this. You actually needed to do this a long time ago. But you found the strength to break free of a toxic relationship and actually do something you never thought you would do, live alone and actually like it. I'm so proud of you for doing that. I assumed you might have some dark moments, and you certainly have, but in the end, you were doing something that is necessary. You are healing thyself, and you were learning to love yourself, something that you weren't doing for a very long time. You might not feel like it now, but you will be a better person because of this. And yes, it's going to be hard, but I know you're much stronger than you give yourself credit for. And that is what is going to get you through this year. Second, you're going to be laid off from your job in 2020. The thing that you've been so afraid of for the past few years, but you knew was very possible, well, it's going to become a reality. Ever since your job got outsourced for the first time in 2014, you've always felt this looming over your head. You heard whispers and you tried to outrun it. You thought to yourself, lightning doesn't strike twice, does it? Well, in fact, it does. I know you feel betrayed, but I also know you understand how large international corporations operate. And this may not be what you want to hear, but this is not personal. There's a chance that you can get retained, but there's an even bigger chance that you won't. You weren't the biggest fan of your current role anyway, and you might think, you know, timing couldn't be worse. You're about to get a divorce, and now you're about to lose your job. But in combination with ending a personal toxic relationship, there's a chance to reinvent yourself here. You might be scared. You've never really been unemployed in your life. You started working when you were 12, and you've pretty much had steady jobs up until now. But even when the horizon looked bleak, you always seem to land on your feet. Look at your working experience. Look at your leadership experience. Most employers would be very lucky to have you. And even if you don't get something right away, you have some time and money to survive on. Quite possibly, you will get a job that is all you and something that you will absolutely love. Because you're the type of person that puts their whole heart into something. And so you really need a job that can match that, to be honest. Bottom line, there is something out there better for you. And third, all this travel you have planned for 2020, and I know you have a ton of it, it's all going to be canceled through no fault of your own. There's going to be something that happens that is the true meaning of earth-shattering. And combined with the two other things, it really is going to call into question how internally steady you really feel. Because life is going to change for you. And actually, it's not just you either. Life is going to be different for everyone for some time. You wanted to travel so much to distract yourself from everything I mentioned tonight. But instead, you're going to spend a lot of days in your own head. Others will have people to lean on. But you will truly only have me, myself, and I. And that may be a struggle. I don't know how long this earth-shattering situation is going to last. Some days you're going to feel very lonely, I'm not going to lie. But remember this, you have friends, you have people that love you, and you may not be able to go and see them and hug them and kiss them and feel their physical touch, but they will be there for you, especially in those dark moments when you feel like you have no one. But most of all, you have you. Like I mentioned before, you're much stronger than you give yourself credit for. You've been through some really tough things in your life, maybe not all at the same time, like you will in 2020, but you survived them, right? And just think of the experiences you'll be able to talk about once you get through this. Because that's the other thing I know about me, myself, and I. You are a storyteller. So in conclusion, I am, from the bottom of my own heart, sorry that you're going through all this in 2020, but you're going to be fine. I mean, heck, if you weren't going to be okay, how could you have written a speech about it? I have faith in you, okay? Because the rain that's pouring right now might be really heavy, but eventually the clouds will part, right? And when it does, you will let your face shine in the sun and let yourself be proud of your accomplishments this year. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. We are now ready for our second speaker. The speaker is Carol Prahinsky. She is giving us the Speeches by Management #2 speech, which is A Praise with Praise. Her title is Online Presenter to the Rescue, and her timing is 5 to 7 minutes. Please help me welcome Carol.
Thank you, Diane, and thank you to our timer, Brian. Online presenters to the rescue. We need it. Our organization has been facing a crisis, and nobody wants to sign up for a crisis. So these last 2 months have been critical to our future as an organization. And I'm referring to Toastmasters International, of course. We have been hit hard with COVID-19. We have been struggling to say what's next. And what happened? What happened during that period of time? We've lost a lot of normals. We've lost our routine. We've lost our livelihood. We've lost our traditions. My students can't go to graduation. We've lost mobility, and ultimate loss, death. Due to this crisis, we've got so many organizations that have said, stop your normal activities, go into hibernation, hide. And yet we connect through Toastmasters. We connect, and we want to connect through our meetings, to see each other, to say hello, to cheer each other on. We want that. But for the safety of our members, the board of directors has said, no more. No more division meetings, no more club meetings face-to-face. This has been a really sad and hard time. And there are many guests today looking for, how do I do this? Our members across the world have been perplexed. And guess what? Online presenters to the rescue. Ta-da! Yeah! Look at all of our members that have stepped forward to say, I can help. And boy, have they. Oh my goodness. I'm getting all sorts of emails saying, I've got this opportunity. Who can offer assistance? Because I need some guidance on how to make this presentation phenomenal. Why? Because I'm teaching people how to have a club meeting online. Or why? Because I'm teaching a division or district on how to have their DEC meetings, District Executive Council meetings, online. Or I'm helping people learn how to run a contest. And boy, have online presenters, ta-da, signed up. Ta-da! I'm very proud of them. I'm very proud of you, because you did step up. When the need was there, you stepped forward and said, I am here. So we have you stepping forward to say, dear student, let me teach you. So the teacher has arrived, the student has arrived. Each one of you has heard the call, and that call is a need. And that call is an opportunity, that opportunity for extending our network across the world, Toastmasters, to guide people on how to do this effectively. It hasn't gone smoothly. Our districts have struggled. I've seen a couple of district meetings that were scary. And I say scary because they weren't run well. But this is where this club comes into play. This is where we help others to be successful and guide them. Our purpose today is to talk about feedback. This is the purpose of the speech. But feedback requires that we hear a message. The message is, how do we continue to grow and learn? There's opportunity for growth, and there's opportunity for what I call tweaking, making minor adjustments that help get the big wow at the end of that modification. We need to understand what we're doing well and what we need to work on. So, online presenters that went to the rescue, how did you do? Did you get your feedback? Did you grow? Did you receive messages on how to tweak that performance to get it even stronger? How many of you used it as an opportunity to receive manual feedback? I did a manual speech or a pathway project. Did you get your feedback? So let me give you a little bit of feedback, a tiny bit of feedback if you didn't get any. Always be open to receiving that feedback. Sometimes we have to ask for it and plan for it in advance. But first, there was lots of emails. Is there another way to communicate this opportunity to step forward? And we do want to help. Each one of us wants to help. And we're excited that we're being asked to help. The second point is working with Toastmasters International Education Program. Are you working the program? Are you using, tonight, got several speeches using manuals. And the third one is, how do we tweak for improvement? And so I want to give kudos to the one special session that I was able to attend, because the speaker did reach out to me afterwards and said, what can I do to improve? And I was able to give some feedback. Ideally, you're going to ask somebody for feedback prior to your speech, but this is where we get the opportunity to give feedback And that also makes us feel warm and fuzzy, that somebody's actually listening to our thoughts and feelings. So how can your speech be structured differently to achieve the needs of that audience? And I call that tweaking, because we're not just giving this speech once, we're giving it multiple times. So each one of us has grown because of our involvement in online presenters. Da-da-da! We have grown and improved our skill set. And it's without each one of you, I wouldn't have been as strong as I am today in online presenting. The growth stops, however, when we stop listening. So be open to that feedback, continue to grow and learn, and ask for that feedback. Give it tweaks to continue to improve and strengthen your relationship with the audience. Will you give feedback to other rescuers beyond just great job? Back to you, Madam Toastmaster, Diane.
Thank you so much. And we have a third prepared speech for tonight. It will be Nick Lacani. He is speaking from the Engaging Humor Level 2, Learning Your Style. And the title of his presentation is Eating for Two, Sir? Again, Nick Lacani, Eating for Two, Sir?
Madam Toastmaster, 2 warnings. First of all, no Toastmasters or visitors were hurt in the production of this speech, and hopefully none of you will either. And secondly, I'm not from America. I'm actually British. Well, I was born in Africa, but also I'm Indian. So I'm a world person. So whatever I'm going to say today, I'm allowed. Please allow me. Why comedy? What about my sense of humor? Maybe it comes from my childhood. I really looked up to my brothers and my uncles. Maybe it was an alpha male thing. But as I grew up into a teenager and a young man, I didn't appreciate all the humor that they had, if you know what I mean. But what I preferred to be quick-witted, you know, with some one-liners, to jump in, just put something in there. I like double entendres, you know, when you have double meanings, and they can be quite rude. So Toastmaster says today, yes, Nick, just give us an example of that. And I said, no. I'm really conscious about the audience here and of the video. So please, let's keep it clean, okay? Now, in terms of what is an example of humor, what is the humor that I have? I'll give you an example. I'm quite a big boned fellow, shall we say. And what happened was, one day I was in a restaurant and I ordered a large omelet with a large, what do they have in America? The hash browns, a large coffee. And the waiter obviously wanted to have a laugh with me. So he said, "Eating for two, sir?" And I said, "What's wrong with you? What have you been doing to make you blind?" In terms of being blind, it's who is saying the joke, who is giving the joke, that is important. If I walk down the street and I bump into somebody who's visually impaired, see, political correct there, or I can't say, watch out, can't you see where you're going? That would be bad on me, wouldn't it? Yeah, hands up, that would be bad, right? Yeah, I can't see any hands. However, at the weekend, I had my speech contest for my area. And one of the contestants is actually legally blind. She's visually impaired. And she told the story of how she was bullied by another girl in her school, but she got her own back because she went and rugby tackled her. And then she said, "I didn't see anything wrong with that." And that was funny, right? And that's the point. Sometimes it comes from who's saying it and who they're saying it to. I'm still looking to see whether I enjoy humor, but I don't know if I'm funny or not. I don't know. Okay. What happens about, things going on now about social distancing? I'm talking to people all over the world saying, I've been in lockdown for 1 week. I've been in social distancing for 1 week and so on. Now, those of you know me think I'm very ebullient and so on. Yes, I am. But in real life, sometimes I keep myself to myself and I'd rather not go out. So when I tell friends I'm not coming out, how long have you been in social distancing? I've been social distancing for 6 years. But anyway, in terms of comedy, there's one place you can go where you can say anything. Anything goes. There are no rules. And that's at a comedy club. And I took my family to a comedy club a month ago for my wife's birthday. And we got there early. I wanted the front seat. There was a comedian there who I think is fantastic. And I really wanted to be on the on the front seat because he goes and asks you questions. And lo and behold, we find the seats, front seat, front row. He starts the show. What's your name? Nick. Where are you from? Manchester. And then he asks, what do you do for a living? I help people speak in public. Pause. He looked at me, looked at the audience, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I got a laugh, maybe about 3. He looked at me again and he said, I'm a professional, but kudos for you. You got the first laugh of the night. Fantastic. I was made up. In terms of when is humor most, I don't know, strong, but can be really hurtful? Maybe with spouses. I'll give you an example. I said to my wife, well, darling, we've had 20 years of marriage. What's been the best thing for you? She turns to me, looks me up and down, and says, I think you're twice the man I married. Fantastic, that's great. That means I've grown as a person, I've developed, I'm mature. No, you're twice the man I married. Oh, okay. So we're doing that, are we? The following week, Sunday morning, yes, darling. Shall we make love or shall I go and play golf? She says, have a good game. Yeah. Now, in terms of telling husband and wife jokes, my dad had a friend who could rock your socks. And he told lots and lots of jokes. One thing comes into mind. Man's wife runs off with another man. And he's so sad. He was driving home one night. The police car goes up behind him, puts the lights on, and asks him to pull over. And he's like, no, no. And he keeps on going. And there ensues a police chase. And eventually, the policeman caught up with him. And he says, well, why didn't you stop? He says, you know I'm the police. Yes, I know, officer. I know you're the police. But my wife ran off last week. And says, so? He says, she ran off with a policeman. I thought he was bringing her back. But in terms of, what you wish for, in terms of what you need to do, if you tell your wife a joke, yes, what's going to happen? 4 more golf, sir. What I want you to do, tell me what you like, tell me what you didn't like, put it in the chat. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Now is the time for voting for best speeches. Members of online Toastmasters can vote on the best speech that is within the time frame it's supposed to be. Brian, are they all within time? Yeah? No? No. Can you tell us which ones? Good, thank you.
Christopher and Carol made time. Christopher made it by 1 second. Congratulations. Nick, unfortunately, you were 4 seconds over.
Thank you very much for that. So
my wife will be happy.
What was his timing? Brian, what was his actual time?
7 minutes and 34 seconds.
Thank you.
Okay, so if you can send a message to our vote counter, Elaine, she's appropriately labeled her box. As a reminder, Christopher Holtz spoke about delivering bad news, and Carol Brahinsky spoke about online presenter to the rescue. Okay, so give you a minute for that. So now comes our impromptu speaking, and which is known as table topics. And tonight we have an experienced Toastmaster, Tricia Smith, and she's going to guide us through that exercise. Can you please welcome Tricia Smith?
Good evening, Toastmasters. As we were just told, my job is to call on someone who does not have a role in the meeting to give an impromptu answer to the questions I'm going to ask. I usually try to tie the topics with the theme or the word of the day. I did not see that, so I'm going to make the theme the COVID-19. And I did look through to see who did not have a role, so hopefully I'll be right on track with this. So the first person I'm going to offer to participate is going to be Mr. Marty. Do you have a role, Marty? Are you available, Marty?
Yes, I'm trying to see if I've gotten unmuted. Have I, Madam Tabletop Master? Can you hear me?
You're good.
Yes, yes, thank you very much.
Okay, then
Okay.
no, I do not have any role yet in tonight's meeting. What do you have in mind for me?
All right. In considerations with all of the changes that everyone is exposed to with the COVID-19, how have you been affected?
Well, Madam Tabletop Master, Toastmasters, and most welcome guests, I've been affected rather indirectly. You see, normally I pretty well keep to myself anyway. I'm not a hermit, but I have problems walking, etc. So I don't usually go out and around very much. I would say that the most significant effect for me has been mental. I find myself wondering, how on earth are we ever going to come out of this? We as a nation, we as individuals, we as a race. I can only pause for half a second and say, we'll come out of it well, in spite of everything. And I look forward to this club being part of my life as I do come through it. Madam Topics Master, over to you.
Thank you very much for your answer. Appreciate it. The next person I'd like to see if they are willing to participate would be Andrew. Andrew, are you available?
I am.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
My question for you is, what are some activities that you have time for now that we are all staying home more often and possibly daily with the orders in place? Can you tell us where you're at and then go ahead and answer that? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster and Topic Master of the day and fellow dignitaries and guests. Well, I find myself busier now than I was before. That's because of online meetings. I'm now attending anywhere from 4 to 6 online meetings per day. And when that's not taking place, I'm attending online meetings from the hospital, health department, and national health organizations that are having their briefings of what's going on. I find myself completely meeting out from early morning until late in the evening, and it doesn't stop. I guess part of that is my choice. I don't have to go to all the online meetings that I'm going to. I don't have to go to all the briefings that I'm going to, but I find it compelling, interesting, fun, and I find that it gives me a sense of connection with other people that I otherwise would not have.
Thank you, Andrew. That was a great answer. And hopefully this meeting is one of the more enjoyable ones. The next person I'd like to see, if they're available, would be Chris Gould. I hope I said that last name right. We have Jim
Yes.
and Chris.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
Thank you so much. My question to you is, what are the COVID-19 impacts on your work industry or community?
Madam Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, the COVID-19 impacts on my business is just as other people who are involved in any online, it's increased it. My business is online. I have been making my living from our website for 15 years, and there's more and more activity now because other people have the time. My husband Jim and I do a YouTube show, and it's giving us great fodder. You know, we're getting more material now. So for example, our last show taught people how to put their slides into Google Photos. I think that is a great use of time when you're having to stay home. Pull out those slides from the closet, and we have a pretty easy, fun way of getting that done. And we had more activity on that than a lot of our past shows because people have time now. So I'm actually feeling quite guilty because I'm enjoying this stay-at-home order. Madam Topic Master.
Thank you very much. And thank you for how you've contributed to helping others. The next person I'd like to call on, if they're willing to participate, how about Antoinette? Are you available, Antoinette?
Yes, I am.
Good evening, Antoinette.
Excuse me, Tricia, she is an evaluator.
Oh, did I miss that? I apologize. Okay, thank you, Antoinette. She was willing to do that anyway. Thank you. Let's try Jacinda. Jacinda, do you have a role and are you available and willing to participate?
She's not here.
Oh, okay.
I'm here. I'm right here.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Hi, Jacinda.
Good evening.
Good evening. I have a question for you. What have you done with this circumstance with the coronavirus to help others or someone?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. Good evening, everyone. So great to see all of your wonderful smiling faces this evening, or morning or afternoon, wherever it is where you are. What have I done? Well, as most of you know, I'm in healthcare. I'm a dentist, and we currently have a mandate for us where we can only see patients who are having urgent conditions. So what does that mean? A lot of dental offices are seeing this many patients right now, 0. So our particular health center, we're still seeing patients on a limited basis, and we're one of the few operations or organizations that are actually still seeing patients at this moment. We're dealing with struggles, as Andy mentioned already, masks, gowns, all the PPE, disposable, things like that. But at the end of the day, we're still in healthcare, and regardless of the coronavirus and et cetera, we're still here to help all of you. And we are looking forward to this being over, of course, as everyone else is, so we can all have a bit of sanity back in our lives. But that's what we do. We help other people. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your service and providing dental care to the people who need it, even during this time. I worked in the dental field for 15 years, so I know a lot about it. Do I have time for another question? Okay, back to you, Table Topics Master.
You mean Toastmaster?
Sorry about that, Toastmaster. Thank you.
No, I'm not judging, just confused. So, as with the earlier segment, members of the Online Presenters Club can vote for the best table topics speaker. But first, we're going to hear from our timer, Brian, to ensure that all the speakers, all the table topics presenters spoke within time, and if they didn't, which ones are those folks? So please help me welcome Brian, and he'll tell us briefly about the table topics timing.
Thank you very much, Diane. I'm very happy to report that all 4 of our members spoke for under 1 minute and 30 seconds, so they all made time.
Super. So that means that all of our online presenter people are going to be sending their vote over to Elaine.
Can you please tell us who the 4 people are again? I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Yes, I was just going to put it in the chat box. That's Marty, Andrew, Chris Gould, and Joy Knudsen, and then Jacinta. So there were 5. I'll put them in the chat box.
Thank you very much for that, Table Topics Master. Now is for the third portion of our evening, and I always call it the money portion. This is where we have an opportunity to hear from people who can critique your skills and give you both praise and opportunities for growth. And for that, please help me welcome Sarah Gao. She's going to take it away, Sarah.
Thank you very much. To start the evaluation portion today, we'll start by evaluating all the 3 wonderful speeches that we heard today. Let me welcome our president of the club, Louis, to evaluate our first speaker today, Christopher.
Before I get started, Madam General Evaluator, could you explain what a general evaluation is and the timing requirements?
The general evaluator role, I will be the host for the evaluation part. I will introduce all the evaluators and also different functional roles to give their report. And then at the end of the session, myself will have 2 to 3 minutes to give overall evaluation. That will be the timing for my part. Thank you.
Thank you. When it rains, it pours. Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and most especially Christopher. Did you know this is Christopher's 42nd speech, and he is looking to get his advanced communicator gold? Well, Christopher, that was magnificent. When it rains, it pours. And we can all just imagine what that meant. Whenever I start an evaluation, I always ask the speaker, what kind of an evaluation do you want? Should it be easy, medium, and hard? And Christopher voted for hard. So here you go, Christopher. I thought this was an incredibly creative speech, giving yourself advice and how you are actually using your words to say me, myself, and I. You are. It took me a couple of seconds to go, what is he doing? But I really, really enjoyed it. I will say I am sorry that this is such a difficult year for you. It sounds between the divorce, the job loss, and the no travel, you definitely have your hands full. But what I liked about this was the way that when you delivered bad news, and that's what this speech was all about, his requirement was to deliver bad news tactfully and sensitively. So when you delivered bad news to yourself, you then told yourself, but look, here's the upside. And sometimes we as individuals forget that we need that. We forget that there's always a bright silver shining lining somewhere, because all we want to do is look at the bad side. And I love the fact that you said, here's the bad, I'm getting divorced, but what's happening is I'm learning to live with myself and I'm learning to like who I am. I'm healing myself. So for every bad thing, you had something good to say about it. I like the fact that you had faith in who you are, that you were able to say, hey, this is it. I am golden with who I am. What I would have liked to have seen was a couple of pauses. When you talked about the power of 3 and you're talking about the no travel because of the COVID-19, I can't touch you, hug you, or love you. I would have liked some more pauses and a little bit deeper and slower. Standing up for this particular speech didn't work for me. I would have sat down. I stand up if I'm doing something that's more lively or it's something that I want more energy in. But when you're giving a very soulful speech like this, it would be nicer if you could just speak to the camera and actually be a little bit closer. So instead of a stand up, I think I would have done a sit down. And if you ever do this speech again, I would encourage you to try it, sitting down and looking at the camera and see how that works. And lastly, I think I would have tweaked the ending and leave it on a brighter note. I had faith in you. Yes, it's really pouring now, but the clouds will shine. When it rains, do you see the rain droplets or do you imagine the rainbow that's waiting on the other side? Great speech, loved it. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Louise, for that wonderful evaluation. Our second evaluator today is Tiger, and he's going to evaluate Carol's speech. There you go, Tiger.
Toastmasters and guests, it is my honor to evaluate Carol. It's really too bad that she doesn't have any energy because this was a really good speech. Just kidding, Carol. First of all, the yellow and blue works. Your presence is very strong. You smile. You have an engaging smile. It just grabs people's attention right away. Your vocal variety was excellent. As always, you infer, you inflect, and it was just delightful. Great emotion. There were times where you showed very raw, very real emotion. I like that. And your start was excellent. I'm going to read some things that Carol said just to kind of go back over what was really well done. She said, we have lost a lot of normals. What a great way to talk about where we're at right now in the world. Online presenters to the rescue. Yahoo! Ta-da! Who else can do that besides Carol? An opportunity to expand our network across the world. What a great message. And then she said, and that's where this club comes into play. So it was a series. It was very well organized. An excellent message to all of us. Growth stops when we stop listening. Again, what a great message. Perfect for her speech. Your ending was excellent. You looked at the camera, you smiled, and you ended with a strong positive note. Now, there are a couple things that I think you could tweak. Yes, you used that word twice. That would make this speech much better. First of all, I think you were using notes because there were times where you were looking down to your right. So I'm assuming that you were looking at notes while you're doing that. You have an engaging smile. You have a great facial expressions. So it's really important that you look at the camera and utilize that all the time. And the other thing was your lighting. You kind of were ghosty, especially with your movement. You kind of, there was a couple of times where you kind of went into ghost mode. And I know with this green screen, you know, that sometimes the lighting's not quite correct, but it took away just a slight bit. So those two things, just tweak your green screen a little bit and make sure you're looking at us because your facial expressions are priceless. Thank you very much for a great speech.
Thank you very much. Tiger, and you kind of steal half of my general evaluation. I was preparing to comment on lighting. So there you go. That's a really important part. Our next third evaluator today, Antoinette, she's going to evaluate Nick's speech today.
Good evening, good morning, whatever time it is, to all my Toastmasters friends. I feel very honored to evaluate Nick. He is a profound speaker. He's an experienced speaker. And I think he did pretty well. As an evaluator, I was listening to what I understood, what I heard, and what I saw. His topic was learning your style. Of course, he's working on the humorous project. And in particular, I liked certain phrases that he used. Double meanings. That sort of made me smile a bit. And I saw other people were smiling as well. Social distancing. That's a popular phrase right now. And I liked when he mentioned for 6 years. And everybody knows now that social distancing is it just happened just about 2 or 3 months ago, not for 6 years. So that made me chuckle a bit. And in order to improve himself, he mentioned that he went to a comedy club. And that was somewhat interesting and for me, because if it is that you want to do anything about humor, you must, of course, go to the source, which is a comedy club. However, there are certain things that I thought he could have done a little better. For example, he used the terminology in terms of many times, or it was rather repetitive. And as well as when you were doing a joke, at least when you started, you said they're going to when you were doing your introduction, you spoke about you're going to tell this joke. As far as I know, for stand-up comedies, we at least in the Caribbean, we just tell the joke. As stand-up comedian, they would just tell the joke and everybody would laugh or smile, as the case may be. So maybe in your next project, maybe you shouldn't mention that you're going to tell a joke. Just say the joke or speak the joke. And normally for comedians, especially stand-up comedy, most times I can't recall seeing any comedian sitting down and telling a joke. Most cases we stand, at least in the Caribbean, and I'm not sure if in the North America if that is so or so. Another thing for comedian, we have, I think, Nick, you need more vocal variety. In terms of sometimes it can maybe go deep or high pitched, more vocal variety was needed in your delivery of speech. I encourage you to continue working on the module, and I'm looking forward to more speeches. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Antoinette. That was great evaluation. And now before we move to the next portion of the evaluation section, I would like to ask our timer, Brian, to give us a report on how the 3 evaluators did in terms of their timing.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I've got some bad news. We have 2 people who made time, but unfortunately I had a timing device fail in the middle of our 3rd speaker. Based upon when I showed cards, which was an estimation at that point, all timers made time, but again, I cannot speak to if they exactly made time. Based upon my estimations, they all made time.
Thank you, Brian, for that very honest report. I would say let's just go ahead and assume everyone made the time. Please send your vote of your best evaluator to our vote counter, Elaine. So again, I will repeat the names. The evaluators tonight are Luis, Tiger, and Antoinette. Thank you, everyone. Now let's keep moving into the next part of the evaluation section. I would like to invite our grammarian, Graham, to give us a short report on the word used today.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Ladies and gentlemen, my job as grammarian is not only to point out what we've done right and wrong, but to do this in an educational way. Let me say there were some particularly useful words I saw tonight. Substantive, for example, was used by Lou in his introduction. Now that's different to substantial. Substantive has a very specific meaning, and I love to see words like that used. We've already heard reference to Nick talking about double entendres, and I really like that, but I loved Nick's observation that he was a big-boned fellow. That's a really nice way of using language playfully. On the subject of playfulness, eschew obfuscation, I was once told. That means don't use too many big words, but feel free to play. Words like ebullient are so much more fun than just outgoing. There were a couple of really good uses of language. Healing thyself, I thought, was a great throwback to biblical language, but also pity party, something that's brand new, or at least in the last 20 years or so, but is so evocative. Use phrases like Chris used tonight really well. And one observation that I would make, somebody mentioned the money portion of the meeting, and I understand exactly what the reference is, but I don't know whether everybody understands that that reference, in fact, comes from pornography, from the money shot. And so just be aware of the use of language and when it spreads along like that. That's my grammarian's report, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Graham. I actually did not know where that reference come from. So thanks for pointing that out. Now I know something new. Next up, I'm going to invite our watcher today to give a 1-minute report.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Chris, in your presentation, I think you looked like you were standing in a corner of the kitchen or somewhere, and the lighting was not great. So, I think particularly for the people who are new at this, make some allowances for people, whether at work or in Toastmasters, if they can't get it set up perfectly. Not everybody can afford to set up a home office. But Chris, you've been at this for a while, so try and set yourself up in a better setting with better lighting when you can. Also, I think you had your camera kind of angled so it was looking up at you. And if at all possible, try and position things so the webcam is at about eye level. It just avoids us looking up your nose, that kind of thing. Marty, work on looking into the camera, particularly when you're giving a table topic speech. You don't need to concentrate on anything going on screen. And if you're looking at the pictures of the people on screen, it looks like your home office is set up so that the camera's way over to the side. So you don't look like you're looking at us or paying any attention to us at all when you're speaking. Carol, I was going to mention, you have what I call the Force Ghost shimmer around the edges of your image, which is just when the virtual background isn't working quite right. Maybe you're making the camera work too hard. I noticed that it does work a little bit better if you have a green screen or a plain background than if you're asking the software to compensate for a complicated background. Nick, I loved your wonderful clean black background. I wondered about the gaming headset that you wore. I've noticed before, it's like the tip of it glows, but when you turn your head sideways, we saw the earpieces light up. So it's probably more fun than a plain headset, but you have to ask whether it's professional in a professional presentation. And I got wrapped by Chris Gold for using a background color that could be confused with timing light signals that we use, our background colors for So be careful or be conscious of using green, yellow, or red as your background color. That's a point well taken. I'll leave it at that. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, David, very much for that very thorough orchard report. Next up, I'd like to invite our R counter tonight, Chris, to give the R counter report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I actually was kept on my toes because I heard a lot of filler words, and I'm going to try a different approach to the report of the R counter. The winner of no filler words goes to one person. Congratulations, Mr. Graham Kent. You had 0 filler words. Everyone else had at least 2 or more filler words. And Nick, you also win the ribbon of using 17 different types of filler words. And what I've done is I've sent to each of our speakers tonight a personal message of your list of different filler words I heard and I noted, and I hope it helps you. In terms of the ranking, I heard also 12 ands, 23 so's, and the hers win the trophy. 25 hers I heard tonight. That's the end of my report, and I wish that this helps everyone to improve on the use of filler words for the next session. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. That's a very refreshing report. Thank you for that. Last but not the least, I would like to invite our chat monitor today, Asel, to give the chat monitor report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. So I looked here and now, and Graham posted about speechathon in community club that would be in about 10 hours, I believe. And Steve Garvin asked about contest video, and David posted replay, and also he shared his collection of his tips. Andy shared the information about contest this Saturday. Guests introduced themselves, and Graham words phantasmagorical, and Louis wrote, reminds me of supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Oh my goodness, so yeah. And then guest Steve Garvin shared about information about that, and also post about the agenda. Elaine asked guests to share information, and Andrew said that today is National Doctors Day, and Jim made the heartbreak sound, and it's great to see you, Jacinta. And the Carol sent hugs to everyone too, and it was lots of visual hugs. So that's it. That's my report. Thank you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Asel. That's a very selected, very well selected summary of the chat, which is very intensive and heavy. I always thought it is very good to go at the end because I sing a lot, and in a concert, you want to be the last one to come. However, at this particular meeting, I find the job is extremely challenging to be the last one to give evaluation, since we already had so many great evaluators and give their feedback for the meeting. I will try just add 1 or 2 points that I observed throughout the meeting. First of all, for all our guests and new members of the club, I would like to bring it to your attention. When you're conducting a meeting online, you have to pay extra attention to your face expressions. If the audience choose to view the meeting through speaker view, every little teeny expression on your face can be viewed very, very clearly. So in this case, sometimes normally if you have an offline meeting, it's not that obvious, but now you have to know, like, people watch your face to the very detail. If you want to express sad face, that's very obvious. But if you want to pass a positive energy, make sure you put on a smile on your face, because that's can be very contagious as well. The next thing I would like to point out is also for our guests and the people who are new to this arena. Please watch the replay of the video and then pay attention to where your head is, because sometimes the frame can actually cut your body, and sometimes you only have partial head. I would recommend, I think, Nick's speech. His body position is very, the good example that we should all look. I think all our evaluators and our watcher, David, did a really good job pointing the good and the bad and the yet to be improved. So I would also encourage everyone to pay attention to that. I would really thanks everyone for keep the spirit high in these very challenging times. Around the globe, we all fighting this, I would call it a war, the war against the COVID-19. Please stay positive and stay connected, and let's keep in touch with everyone through our common virtual platform that we can connect with each other. That concludes the evaluation part of today's meeting. I would like to invite our vote counter, Elaine, to announce the winner of today's meeting.
I am happy to announce the winners of our 3 meeting contests. Our best speaker of the evening is Carol Prahinsky. Give a round of applause to Carol. Our best table topics respondent was Chris Gould. Congratulations, Chris. And our best evaluator of the evening was Tiger McAndy. Congratulations, Tiger. Thank you, everyone, for sending me your votes. It was a manageable job this evening. I could read the chat well. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. So now return it to our Toastmaster of the day. Back to you.
Thank you so much. Sarah did a fantastic job as a general evaluator. Thank you. So I have a very easy part right now, and that's basically to say thank you so much for participating. If you're a member, hey, and if you're thinking about being a member, this is the place to be. And I would like to turn the meeting over to our president, Lois Margolin, and she's going to hear from some guests. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Well, before we get to any guests, because we have 2 minutes to go, I just want to remind everyone, we have our webinar contest on April 20th. Carol is the contest master and David Carr is the chief judge. We have 3 contestants at this point. Next week, Sarah, you are the Toastmaster of the day, and our 3 speakers are Diane, Sagar, and Antoinette, with the backup being Tricia. I do need 2 evaluators. Please go online and sign up. And April 13th, my 3 speakers are Nick, Carol, and Brian David Crawford. Nick and Carol, that gives you almost back-to-backs. If you weren't anticipating being on this week, would you go ahead and allow Emily to get in? If not, it's yours. So let's ask a couple of our guests what they thought about our meeting. How did we do? Let's see. I'm trying to see on my front page. Kate McNamara, what did you think?
That was a great meeting. I'm very impressed with how organized it was, and definitely got some good tips. I'm pretty new to online meetings myself, and I know that I need to improve my lighting and work on, I haven't given a speech online yet, so it's good to see other people's speeches and get some ideas for how I can employ vocal variety and gestures even though I'm on screen. So thank you. It was a really good meeting.
Wonderful. Elena, what did you think?
I thought it was a great meeting. Thank you very much for having me. It's nice to see a smoothly flowing meeting. So thank you. Learned a lot.
We're glad. Well, we only have time for the 2 because it is already 9 o'clock. We are going to officially end the meeting and the recording, but a number of us will stay on afterwards